Hey, hey, ho, ho, everybody. Welcome to the program. We are myself to the screen. There we go. We're live. Yeah, there we go. That's how you work a camera, everybody. That's how you work a camera. We're live. We're going to have a great show for you today. I cannot wait for today's show. Oh, by the way, Rick Smith and Tara Devlin are coming on the show, and I did my sideburns for Rick Smith and Tara Devlin because I was tired of them. Like I was literally all day yesterday during yesterday's show. This is a little bit of teaser before we start and before we go live and before everything happens and we kick this off. A little teaser. Um, I couldn't stop looking at my sideburns, and they were driving me absolutely batshit crazy. Like I, I jokingly call myself the ugly duckling because I don't have this great feeling about myself on the TV machine. Like I don't like feel comfortable doing this. I feel comfortable being on the air and being on radio and doing a podcast, but doing a vidcast is something totally different. And you got to be mindful of so many different things. And I do not feel comfortable that much when it comes to dealing with myself on the big screen. So I'm talking to myself basically at this point because nobody's joined the chat. We're getting ready to hopefully bring in some people, and some people may watch because we have Rick Smith on, but it's just you, it's me, and we're discussing. This is what we do on the Nosey Liberal. We discuss things, we have a conversation. And I am not particularly fond of my looks. I have an issue with my looks. And you could call it dysphoria even. Um, I know that's a part of it. Uh, but when I deal with it, and I'm watching the time for the 6 p.m. when the Green News report comes on. We are live. We're not on the air on fynation.com yet. So we're not getting into any stories. This is kind of like story time before the actual show. Because we'll have Tara Devlin, we'll have Rick Smith today. We're going to talk about the State of the Union. We're going to talk about the truckers. We're going to talk about a whole lot of stuff. And it's going to be a fun show. And I cannot wait to have you enjoy the show. And we're just gonna watch the eye in the sky and do the show. I like the camera the way it is, and I'm comfortable now. And it is how it is. We're streaming, and you got to stream these days to get your message across. So I'm streaming to get my message across. We're gonna edit today's video, even though I hate going back and editing and everything else. We're gonna edit today's video for uh, YouTube, so we can put it on YouTube and put it on our Facebook feed for people to check out for the Tara Devlin part of the show and for the part of the show with Rick Smith. And I am nervous. I'm incredibly nervous about this, and I don't know how to deal with it with my nerves today. So this is going to be fun. This will be interesting. Um, I'm not as nervous as a Ukrainian, so that's good. But I am particularly nervous about doing this interview. So let's not make it as bad as it actually is. We'll get through it. And I'm a little pep talk before the show. Just a little pep talk. We're gonna be live. We're gonna do the Nosey Liberal. And we're gonna have a good show. That's really all it is. People want to watch. People will watch. People don't want to watch. People don't watch. It's simple. But we're gonna have Tara Devlin on. We're gonna have Rick Smith on. Don't want to bury the lead. The lead is Rick Smith. Tara Devlin is always amazing. We're gonna talk about Republican State of the Union rebuttal and They're just bashing Biden constantly. We're going to talk about Marjorie Trader Green. We're going to talk about a lot of things, and we have lots of video for you as well. So, prettier people will be on the screen than me, but they don't have anything nice to say. And I shave too. Did you notice that? I like shaved, so there's that. And I'm not sure if I like the shave yet. I feel 12 with the shaving. So there's that. I feel like Jesse Waters. Oh, and by the way, we're going to talk about that. I cannot wait to talk about that. But let's go live and get on the air before I lose track of time. Hey, everybody, we're live on the air, and here's the music because I'm running late. I love touch screen because I could not get the mouse to work to unmute myself. And for the live streamers, I'm already on the air. We're already live. For the radio folks at FYNation.com, we're just coming on the air. At 9 o'clock, we go live on the live stream on my Facebook page and on the YouTube. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, please. That would be really cool if you did that. It would be really lovely if you did that. And we have Rick Smith coming on, Tara Devlin coming on. We have hashtag FY Live. Hopefully you'll come on because this is a participatory show. And you can comment in the comment section of all the streams that we have what you think I'm doing wrong or doing right, or it's a participatory show. So you can do all that fun stuff with this show. And we have a great show for you. Please subscribe to our Patreon. Please subscribe to our YouTube page. We need 1,000 subscribers to remonetize. We used to be able to be monetized on our YouTube. Now we can't. And we're putting out lots of new clips. Oh my God. The clips. The research I do for you guys. And the left. Because I love you. So we're going to talk about the news. We're going to talk about the rebuttals that were had. We're going to talk about the State of the Union that was had. That I got to say, I'm a little bitter that there were no truckers. I was expecting truckers, and I'm a little dissatisfied with the delivery. I'm upset with the trucker delivery. I was told there would be truckers. I was expecting truckers, damn it. And there were no truckers. What the truck is going on? What the truck? They're not even on, like they're still on their way. They're not even going to be there on time. And the story from Vice that I saw in Raw Story, I got the original story from Vice because it's a little longer and more heavy. I love this story because, like, the truckers are mad that they're not getting any press. They're upset. They're like, what? No press? I'm not. You mean I'm not getting any attention? Why aren't I getting attention? I'm fighting for America. And like they had a lot of attention from, like, Newsmax continually has these truckers on. The trucker convoys, as they're called. The biggest thing about the trucker convoy is the Telegram channel that is 96,000 subscribers. I would love. Okay, let me step back a little. I would love to hate having 96,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel. Or 96,000 listeners on FYI Nation. Like, I would be so anxiety ridden. Yeah, I would love it. Like, I don't know how people handle that type of interactivity. Right? You must get performance anxiety. I get performance anxiety. So you must get it as well. So there's that. And this trucker convoy, the biggest thing about the trucker convoy is the telegram. Newsmax has the guys on while they're driving, by the way. And I think that's against regulations. Not that you would expect these guys to follow regulations, but I think driving a truck while doing a Newsmax interview is against some kind of regulation. I'll have to ask Rick Smith that. He would know. He deals with unions. And as he said, the truckers have so many good things to protest for. This is what they pick. This is where they're mad. I have a dear friend who's a trucker who's on vacation right now. I need to ask him to come on the show to talk about this. He's not very political, but maybe I could get I want to pick the brain of what truckers are mad about. Really mad about. Like the average, normal 9-to-5 trucker. Not these, I can afford to spend my vacation going after Donald Trump's vision quest for a new America trucker. So, COVID health mandates are going down because the cases are going down, and that's what the science. The Republicans everywhere and Fox News personalities everywhere are complaining about, well, the science has changed. What's changed? No, the science has changed. And the truckers are upset that people think what the Ukrainians are going through is bad. Now, mind you, their not synagogue, but their Holocaust memorial got bombed the other day. I don't see anybody carpet bombing truckers, right? Nobody's carpet bombing truckers. We don't have that going on in America nor Canada. Now, I was with the truckers on the whole Emergencies Act being a little bit of a bridge too far with Justin Trudeau. Again, I was with the truckers on that. I thought that was a bridge too far. But this madness on the right wing, people say, well, those freedom truckers sure picked a bad week to try and get attention for being victims of tyranny, wrote one trucker fan annoyed with the war in Ukraine. They are starting to twist the events by saying our suffering is somehow much less. No, it's not. Yes, it is. The People's Convoy, which is the largest of all the convoys, is not expected to reach DC until March 5th. So why are they doing this? There's infighting, there's poor planning, there's some truckers who are only going some legs of the journey, not all the legs. The convoy became plagued by infighting suspicion over the weekend as the convoy failed to materialize at designated overpasses or rally points. And they're so sad. And they're victims, too. By the way, they're all victims. This was supposed to be this great big thing. I was thinking, too, that this was bigger than Putin. They called up the National Guard. This was going to be this big thing, this huge thing that we had to worry about. And nothing. A big fat goose egg. And it drives me insane that, like, Newsmax and Fox News still to a degree, and all the other right-wing places are still even the Vice is giving this, like, oxygen. Why? Okay, I guess you got to report about. I guess when your cat dies, you got to tell somebody, but it's like that's the equivalent of this. Somebody's cat dying. Some observers claim they got a glimpse of the Florida convoy. I stood there in the hot sun for hours too, but everything came together, someone wrote. If you were at an overpass, I promise the truckers saw you, and there were lots of them. You just didn't know who was who because all the trucks look alike unless they have flags all over them. So now in their freedom delusion, they're making up shit. I found the weapons of mass destruction. Here they are. I mean, Jesus Christ. Vlad, here you go. Here's a weapon of mass destruction. I found it in Ukraine for you. Their fever dream of a freedom rally with truckers convoy has not worked out. One of the Freedom Convoy USA 2222 tried to organize one of the convoy and pulled the plug before they even got started to prevent so it's just they're disorganized. This is the worst palace coup ever. This is I am shocked. See, normal truckers, right, are not doing this. That's why your goods are getting delivered on time. That's why the average person has their things that they need and they want, and it's happening on time right now. Because the average trucker, like the average American, is not flipping out about shit like this. They're just not. It's not happening. And the proof is in the pudding, as they say. So there's that. The trucker convoy. The People's Convoy, America. We must all watch the People's Convoy. We must all set our sights on this American greatness. We must. Or not. So Dan Walker at the BBC this happened this morning, had this singer, I've never heard of her. She's some Ukrainian singer on the TV machine on the BBC. And she told Putin a thing or two. And I gotta say, it was fucking fabulous. Again, it was fucking fabulous. This is what you want to hear from people when they talk. This is what you want to hear. So the singer, really nice looking lady, not for nothing, was on the interview, and I guess they thought she was just going to be chatty, but she had something else to say.
We are very friendly folk, but you are take a genocide in our country, and like our soldiers say, the Русский военный корабль, fuck you, and all of
Maria.
people
Sorry, Maria. I
Our
understand.
people happy.
I understand, Maria. Listen, I really understand the depth of feeling. I've got to apologise to our viewers for the language there. Thank you so much for talking to us. Keep singing, and
Thank
please stay safe as well. And just once again, apologies for the language there. But I'm sure watching this morning, you understand how strong
Apologies for the language.
Maria's feelings
Can't
are, and
handle
so many people
language.
in
Oh my
Ukraine
god.
trying to defend
Oh my god.
themselves, protect their
Apologies for the
family,
language. So she
and
she
Very
goes
look after
on
their country.
BBC Breakfast,
very emotional.
and they have a
You want-
fit.
but we are very friendly folk. But you
And hold on, because she went off and told Putin to fuck himself on live TV. We apologize for the language. This is a morning show. Fuck you, Putin. How many times do I have to say it? Fuck you, Putin. I loved it. They didn't handle that well. Well, we understand you're angry. Dude, you haven't been blitzed since World War II. Maybe tone down your faux sensitivity, empathicness, and let the woman speak. She's being silenced by Putin. Let her tell Putin to fuck off. It's really not that hard. Fuck off. I would love to have her on. Lady, I don't know who the fuck you are. You're some kind of singer, and you want to tell Putin to go fuck himself? Be my guest. Apparently that's the worst thing that happened on British TV. They say fucking swear on English TV, but they have time frames that you can do that. And that didn't meet the time requirements. But come on, grow up. It's like Americans when they apologize. The grand scheme of things, the thing that's bad that's happening is the invasion. The thing that's bad that we're dealing with is the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. So for someone to come across and say, fuck you, Putin, the presenter, Dan, is his name, should be applauding. He instead of this faux outrage that she said fuck. We're really sorry, audience. She said, oh, grow the fuck up. We're really sorry, she said fuck. I hope your bagel goes down okay. Oh, I hope your bagel is good for you. While she struggles to deal with being in a bunker, she should be allowed to, I don't know, say fuck. Grand scheme of things, not that bad. In what's going on in the world today, a singer saying fuck is not that bad. Grand scheme of things. So there's that. And it's just like, you think you're having a bad day. You ain't seen nothing until you get bombed by the Russians. So keep that in perspective. Like I've had to keep my bad days in check. And what I'm going through in check. To feel better about myself and not freak out and deal with certain things. Like if you're think you're having a bad day, we do have Marjorie Trader Green to cheer you up. Marjorie gave an American, I didn't even know this was a thing, but apparently it's a thing and it exists. There are Americans for freedom, because yeah, or American first, American women for America first. Let me get it right, Tom. Work with me here. Get it right. You got Rick Smith coming on the show today. Stop being so goddamn nervous. Have to give myself my own pep talk while I'm on the air. The Americans or the women for putting America first had a rebuttal of the Biden thing. And Marjorie Taylor Greene was the rebuttalist. And there are two things that happened with the treacherous Marjorie Taylor Greene. She went off about our good friend Hunter Biden, and she talked about that, which we're going to talk about a little bit. Apparently, the New York Post is running this story that Hunter Biden's friend is going to prison and only a presidential pardon can spare him, and this is a new thing. But Marjorie Taylor Greene is basically batshit crazy. And let's see if I can find the one I want. I hope. Here we go. Here is the clip.
The President of the United States is
This is the
totally
clip.
compromised because
here.
every world leader has contents of Hunter Biden's laptop and much more to blackmail him.
Hunter
So
Biden's
it's no wonder America is weak. We do not have a president that can defend our country. We have a president that puts America last because he is literally serving China, Russia, and the world. He is a globalist. He's for the global economy. He is for the World Economic Forum, for the interest of China and for the interest of Russia and for anyone, anywhere that has blackmail evidence on his sexually deviant, drug-addled, deadbeat dad, pathetic, sorry, embarrassing excuse of a son. Joe Biden has already broken his oath of office because all he cares about is protecting Hunter Biden, and he will not protect any of us. This is why I have introduced 4 articles of impeachment on Joe Biden.
Okay, I can't.
Now the Democrats are trying.
Shut up. Go away. I can't, you treacherous whore. Okay, whore's strong a word, but his drug-addled son, he's in recovery. See, Republicans don't care about anything but a talking point. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is the worst kind of Republican, where she pretends with her phoniness to actually care about the issues, care about you, care about things, and she doesn't care. She's a traitor. And to say this about someone's kid, whatever happened to family values, man? New levels of low. She is a despicable human being, Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's just awful. And it's sad that we have to deal with her on a constant basis. Now, I don't like her because of the things she says and things she stands for. And just to add this to the mix is just one more thing that I can say I think she's an awful human being about when I talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene. And why I think she's a traitor. AOC, and this amazing story, is not liking her for different reasons. And I totally get it, right? Like, I'm not disputing the reasons. In fact, they go hand in hand with why I don't like her. Because she went and spoke at a basically a Klan rally. All they were missing were the hooded sheets, and you had yourselves a Klan rally. And that's where we were at with the Republicans. I mean, it's not far off to be able to say that. So here is AOC is mad at Kevin McCarthy, rightfully so, by the way. Mad at Kevin McCarthy and mad at. We're gonna share the screen. Let me bear with me here. My computer's running a little slow For those who want to see, we're going to show the screen from the Daily Mail article, and of course an ad pops up right as I go to do that. I love that. So this Daily Mail article, right, talking about AOC. She is rightfully pissed off at Kevin McCarthy. And she was angry that Paul Gosar and Marjorie Taylor Greene went to white nationalist events. Went to the AFPAC, AFPAC, the AFPAC. McCarthy has been protecting his little KKK caucus, I would just call him the Klan caucus, for years with these toothless attempts at statements and meetings. It's how he covers for them, the Democratic Congresswoman said. He's now behind them for so long, they've escalated their open anti-Semitism and collaboration with white nationalist groups. He's just as culpable, AOC said. So Greene was in Orlando, Florida over the weekend to speak at the Conservative Political Action Conference, which we covered, and also was a surprise guest at the American First political rally. Or America First Political Action Conference. Well, they're putting American first. How can it be wrong? How can it be bad? They're putting America first. Why are you so mad? Why are you so upset? They're putting America first, damn it. You should tone it down a notch. They're just doing America a solid. Why are you so upset, you libtard? Because I am. Because you should be. You should be upset that Kevin McCarthy basically allows this. Now, there are some on the right that are upset because they are sexist, misogynistic assholes, and maybe calling Marjorie Taylor Greene a whore makes me one of them. Don't know. Jury's out of that. Maybe I'm an asshole, but I don't think I don't think that what is it? It's that bad a thing to call her a whore when she is whoring for Trump, basically. I mean, there's no other way to describe what she does. She's a whore for Trump. She's what? Slut? Would that be better? She's on her back for Donald Trump. And I feel like I'm offending sex workers here. Not actually offending people. But this congressional candidate and the Republican side is very, very upset with Marjorie Taylor Greene. And let me find the clip, if you'll bear with me. Oh, Lord, lots of clips today. Lots and lots of clips. Neil Kumar.
Very sad that all it took for them and Nick Fuentes to see stars and abandon that was for a lying serial adulterer like Marge and her pet homosexual Milo, who was bragged about attending pedophilia parties, to promise some elusive potential prospect of mainstream legitimacy. It's all about fame and clout. AFPAC wants to be CPAC, right? So all of this Groyper energy, this real discontent is being harnessed and driven into the ground, right back into the grift-right GOP. So now you're not allowed to criticize snakes like Marge because they give you legitimacy, right? Even though they disavow you immediately afterwards. Well, I got news for these kids who are simping for this serial adulterer who, wears hot pants everywhere she goes. Marjorie is a pathological liar and a total fraud whose Christian witness she repeatedly besmirches publicly and without repenting. She is the definition of a sellout, literally on her knees in front of Kevin McCarthy, begging for her committee assignments back. You know, she's got a long history, a well-established pattern of cuck behavior. She groveled in front of the Holocaust Museum, begging Jews for forgiveness. She abandoned the proposed America First caucus because McCarthy didn't like the word Anglo-Saxon. She slobbered all over communist sex fiend MLK on MLK Day. She immediately disavowed AFPAC at CPAC. And then the next day, when CBS brought out Cheney and Romney to attack her, she folded again. She referred to America First as a group of sinners. She said some of their statements were misguided and even repulsive. She called on them to apologize for people who their words have hurt their feelings. Right? She disavowed identity politics when identity politics is what her speech was about at AFPAC. Right? So what is she doing?
This guy has lots and lots of grievances. And I feel kind of like to hear Neil talk about her, I almost feel bad. And then I remember who I'm talking about. Like, see, there are different stages of grief. There are different stages of assholes in the Republican Party. All right? Marjorie Taylor Greene, Marjorie Trader Greene, is one stage of asshole in the Republican Party. Donald Trump is another stage of asshole in the Republican Party. Then you have, see, this is why you can't just say all Republicans are bad. There are some decent people who happen to be Republicans, and that's just an unfortunate happenstance in how things are. But this with her, I almost feel bad because he is so vile and sexist to Marjorie Trader Greene. And look, I think she's a traitor. There are some, I agree with some of his statements. I think she's a liar. I think she's a phony. I think she's a fraud. I think she prostitutes herself. There are things I agree with Neil Kumar when he's talking about Marjorie Trader Greene. But I draw the line, you have to draw the line at the outright sexist, disparaging remarks. And this is what AOC is talking about, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She is talking about, why are you allowing these people like Paul Gosar and Marjorie Trader Greene to go to an event and then give an American I don't care that AFPAC is trying to be like the new CPAC. That's Republican infighting and bullshit. Like there's always going to be that. Like we have it at our own. We have Tayyip giving that State of the Union counter address for the progressives. And that's to be despicable when you have the sitting president sitting in power. I think you shouldn't be doing that. But it's being done. And I have a problem with that. But AOC is absolutely right. AOC is right about McCarthy. He is a weak little man. I'm calling him a little man. Because he does not have the testicular fortitude to stand up to... I could imagine how he would react to Neil Kumar if Neil Kumar ever became Congressman Kumar. And again, we have to be careful about how on the left, I'm going to talk to Tara about this because I think there are right-wing wackos and then there are extremist right-wing wackos. And we have to be careful about how I think it paints too broad a brush when we just throw them all in together. Because that's what they do to us. And there's a little bit more nuance there. Now, am I saying Marjorie Trader Greene is a good person? Hell no. She's a homophobic, transphobic, sexist, bigoted prostitute for Donald Trump. Do I feel a little bit bad about how Neil Kumar describes Marjorie Taylor Greene? A tiny bit. Because it makes me realize what Republican women have to deal with from conservative men. And I feel bad for that. That is the thing. I feel bad that people like Neil Kumar exist in our party politics. So there's that. By the way, you can watch, like, and subscribe our Facebook and YouTube channel. Tara Devlin will be with us later. Rick Smith will be with us later. Don't bury the lead, Tom. Rick Smith, 10:30. It's going to be a great, great show today. Off to a little bit of a late start because I had a little minor technical difficulty with a mouse. But that's why we have touch screen, because it's a beautiful thing. So, and it's like, here's another thing that I want to discuss. And we're talking about infighting in the Republican Party. Here is another example. Here is another example of infighting in the Republican Party, brought to you by The Blaze. This is why I go to outlets that are on the right, because I find interesting stories. So, they talk about defunding the police. Wyoming Republicans are divided by defunding the state university's gender and women's studies program. I should, this is how they govern. They govern in this emotional cavern of duplicity and deploralism, and attack women and the LGBTQ community, and then go after each other because they can't get a grip on what they wanted to do. So senators voted 16-14 to pass the amendment, with nearly half of the Republican majority voting against. Supporters of defunding the gender and women's studies program said the department, which teaches intersectional and interdisciplinary feminist and queer analysis for advancing the cause of social justice, is ideologically driven and politically based. Translation: you might learn about some queers having sex. We can't have that. Or, let's go one step further. Republican men and women might learn queers exist. And we can't have that. Because Jesus didn't believe in no queers. Republican State Senator Chris Steinmetz, who authored the amendment, said he was looking into what department taught had caught. And look, this is a weird sentence. Looking into what department taught had caused her to lose some sleep, knowing that taxpayer dollars were funding the program. It's one that caused me to lose some sleep because of being the folks that deal with the public funds going to this university. I felt that this was one of our that our constituents know. I know certainly mine, sorry, again, weird sentence, wouldn't agree with. So basically her constituents, she believes, wouldn't agree with the public funds going there. Say it like that. And I would challenge any of you to take this home to your constituents and ask them what they think of it. Can't be talking about those women and them queers. Republican State Senator Charles Scott, chairman of the legislative body's Education Committee, said this is extremely biased, ideologically driven, that I can't see any academically legitimacy to. They're using the big words on me today. Sorry. I think we'll hear complaints about how we're interfering in the internals of the university, but I think what we're really doing is sending them a message that they need to clean up their act in terms of the quality of instruction that's being given. I would say these people missed Tulsi Gabbard on Tucker Carlson's show, where they were whining about big tech going after Russia Today and how they couldn't watch opposing viewpoints anymore. They wanted to watch. In fact, I'm going to play it. Let me get the clip. They were whining about this, and they were very upset. And they missed this. The Republicans missed it. See, they're okay with banning certain things like feminism and queer studies and anything that doesn't go with their particular branding. They're okay with just saying, yeah, no, we're not going to tolerate that. Not on our watch. Not on our watch. They're okay with that. But when it comes to
I want to be able to read as wide a variety of sources on what's happening as I possibly can, not just ones that have a stamp of approval from Biden or the CIA or Google. But I can't.
You can't.
So why is no one fighting back against that? Why can't I have all the information I want to have?
And this is the problem, is that this administration, government, the power elite, the media, they have designated themselves as the sole authority who can say, well, this is the information big tech, Google does this is the information we want you to see in here because this is what we deem as true, and all this other information is what we deem as false, and therefore we're going to make sure you don't get access to it. We're going to make sure that you don't hear it. And if you dare to challenge what we are putting forward to you, the Biden administration, the Department of Homeland Security will sick their domestic terrorism unit on you because you are anti-authority. You dare to challenge their authority, dare to question the line, the narrative, the policies they put forward, and you're going to see more examples like we're already seeing of people like parents who care about their kids going to school boards and protesting being targeted as domestic.
And the parents, can't forget about the parents being targeted. You got it. Again, they're mad about Russia Today and vaccines and everything else on the right. See, they never get their story straight. Like, you can't, they want privacy, they want our kids' college funds not to go to schools to teach. Sorry, I'm trying to fix something as we go. Bear with me. There we go. They want their kids not to be taught about feminism and gender studies and all this because they get their panties in a wad. And they get all upset. And Tulsi Gabbard and Tucker Carlson are not okay with big tech doing this. You gotta, if you're gonna fight this fight, be on the side of open-ended freedom. Like, if you're gonna talk about freedom, you have to say big tech. What? And I agree with censor. I think the censoring is gone too far. I do. If people want to watch that shit on RT, let them fucking watch Sputnik. Let them watch RT. I think people can make up their own minds. Just like I think people can make up their own minds about taking a class for gender studies. Now, the Republican will say, but Tom Reynolds is the nosy liberal. Hold your horses. Hold your horses. You are going too far. The funding is coming from us, the taxpayer, and we have to protect the citizenry. And I say, if the student doesn't want to be taught that, they're not going to go to the class. And it doesn't matter if it's going to get funded or not. And that's going to end that whole class. If you believe in freedom. Like, if you're having an honest discussion about freedom, you will say that going to a women's studies class is not going to be detrimental to me, and it doesn't matter. Just as if you believe in freedom, if you take it to the extreme and you truly believe in freedom, RT being on is not going to harm you. Because you're not going to watch it. You're gonna make the decision yourself because you're grown. And you're going to say, you know what, I'm not going to watch RT. I don't care to watch RT. I'm a grown-up. So you're going to do that, right? And you're going to make up your mind. And that's how you do things. You make up your mind to say, okay, I'm gonna watch Tucker Carlson. I'm not gonna watch Tucker Carlson. I'm gonna watch Tom Reynolds on the Nosey Liberal or listen to FYNation.com. I'm not gonna watch or listen to the Nosey Liberal on FYNation.com. I'm gonna participate. I'm not gonna participate. You're grown. In some cases, you're not. That's when the parental unit comes in and gets involved. And hopefully has your best interests at heart. If you truly believe in freedom, then you should be saying, government, stay out of my classroom. Fund education. Let the university decide what is appropriate. And let the students decide what they believe they should go and be taught. If you truly believe in freedom, but Republicans only see this as a talking point to have Glenn Greenwald on in Tucker Carlson's case, or Tulsi Gabbard on in Tucker Carlson's case. Two people I would never have on my show. They do this on a regular basis. They do not believe in freedom of choice. Republicans do not believe in freedom of choice. I know this because they are willing to decry one person's freedom over yours. They don't say, no, everybody has to be free. See, I say, as an extremist on this, I say, everybody has to be free to think, to say, if you want to say the N-word, okay, by God, say the N-word. But understand, if somebody comes after you for saying the N-word, I'm not going to be the one applauding your dignity of choice. I'm going to think you're a moron because you said the N-word. I am a freedom extremist. If you believe in freedom and personal responsibility for the person as a whole, you go to the extreme that personal responsibility and freedom as a whole is for everyone, and you shall not infringe those rights. If you want to have Neil Kumar trash talk Marjorie Taylor Greene, by God, let them do it. But you can also, in the same point, say, Neil Kumar, you're a bit of a sexist pig. And you don't represent my politics. It's really simple, folks. And that makes me an extremist. Like this next story that we're going to talk about. We're rolling through stories like crazy. And again, have you noticed we're not covering a lot about the Ukraine? Because if you want to talk about the Ukraine and what's going on in Russia and everything else, that's what CNN is for. I can only talk about it so much. I think we need a diverse ability, a diverse amount of discussion. That's why I go to right-wing sites, by the way. So the right is mad. Again, this goes down to freedom and personal responsibility. And the headline is from The Blaze. Twitter suspends GOP lawmaker for hateful conduct. Her crime? She tweeted about men pretending to be women. Translation? She was transphobic. This article is written by Sarah Taylor at The Blaze. Twitter suspended Representative Vicky Hartzler on the grounds of hateful conduct after she tweeted about biological males or transgender women competing in women's sports. Well, let's see. Let's see for a minute, Vicky. You are on a private platform, just like I am on a private platform. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on all these private platforms. Excuse me. There are certain things you cannot say based on the rules that they have, and certain things will happen to you based on these rules. They determine what is hate speech, not you. Just because you believe that men who have transitioned and are now women because they're transgender and they are now women are not women, just because you believe that does not make it true and does not make it hateful. You see, just because you think you're right in your madness does not make it so everybody has to go with you. So Twitter, rightly so, suspends the account. Again, let me say this without change. Twitter suspends the account, rightly so. She's running for Senator Roya Blunt's Missouri seat. Women's sports are for women, not men pretending to be a woman. That's hateful. Men are not pretending to be women. I think there has been one documented case of that in over a year that I can reference offhand because I saw Fox News covering it. And that was before we were doing the show, so I couldn't cover it myself. People who are transgender are not pretending to be women. They identify as women. Now the Twitter campaign account, the official account, has been disabled. This is the same as a February TV campaign spot in which she discussed the University of Pennsylvania's transgender swimmer, Leah Thomas. She's mad that Leah Thomas is dominating women's college swimming. To me, all you have to do is meet the height, weight requirements and be good in the field. And if you are that gender, you go for it. And if you identify as a woman and you're a woman, you go for it. I identify as being non-binary. I'm non-binary. To me, it doesn't matter how you particularly view me, because I don't view me in any sort of way anyway. And it frustrates me that we have this issue at all. Again, this goes back to freedom. I should be able to say whatever, because the Bible says I should be able to say whatever I want. When you are using your freedom to go after someone else's freedom, you are a tyrant. We'll be right back for the top of the hour. Bear with me. Okay, so what I was talking about at the top of the hour, or the bottom of the hour, top, bottom, who cares really? What I was talking about with freedom is when you are infringing on somebody else's freedom from your own freedom, you are a tyrant. Does the suspension of Hartzler make Twitter a tyrant? No. Hartzler was able to say what they said. Everybody knows about it. That's why we're talking about it. Their point has been made. And now, the consequences. The consequences have come. And if she wants to go on Parler, or if she wants to go on Getter or Truth Social, she can go on those apps and she can talk her talk and say what she wants to say, all she wants. Rick Smith is coming up next at the 10:30 hour. And I'm wearing my Snoopy pants for those on the video. If you want to watch the show, you could watch the show. We're on the live streaming of the Twitter and the Facebook and the YouTube, and we're streaming. So you can do that, and you get a full 6 minutes extra of the show right before we go live. So there's that. But talking about freedom has consequences. And if you're dealing with a company that controls the platform that you're on, you're going to have to follow the terms and conditions you sign. Just like I have to follow the terms and conditions of StreamYard. The platform that I use to stream. I mean, it's real simple. It's not complicated, folks. You follow the terms and conditions and you get along fine. You say that a woman isn't a woman who feels like they're a woman and is just pretending, you're going to have issues on platforms because that is hate speech. It's not hard. It's not hard to deal with. So, there's that. I mean, really. I just, it drives me nuts. It drives me absolutely nuts. So, we're live on FYNation.com. You can tweet me at #FYLive. Send me a message. I want to know what you think. Am I wrong about this whole freedom issue? Is Glenn Beck and the right correct? Should we have people who are okay with like just going about doing their thing and having some hate speech? Is that okay? I don't think so, but what do I know? You tell me. You tell me. That's how this works. You tell me. So, and I'm trying desperately to get comfortable in my own skin being on TV today and not have any anxiety crop up because of this interview with the great Rick Smith that's coming up. And my anxiety is through the roof, I must say. So there's that. Let's see. And we're going to go to a video that I want to play. Where this is just this is just I don't know. It's what we talked about the other day. We talked about this the other day, fleetingly, about Russia and Vladimir Putin. We talked about, and we're going to play the video for a moment, and you can find the video on YouTube if you want to see the full clip. We talked about our friend Vladimir Putin and how the only way he's going to be stopped is if somebody puts a bullet to his head. And if they had Miss Cleo herself on the TV machine, Prime Time with Jesse Waters did a whole segment, and we have some clips from it. They did a whole segment about killing Putin. In fact, he talked about it before in a segment, which I'm not going to play because I want to cover the segment, but he talked about it with the general, and then he talked about it with Buck Sexton and some other colonel that they had on. Buck Sexton, for those who don't know, is a Blaze personality and former CIA special analyst. But this is Jesse Waters listing the ways to kill Putin. This was on primetime TV last night before the State of the Union.
Jones. So, Buck, I mean, he could get a bullet in his head. He could get poisoned. He loves poison over there. You know that. Or they could just maybe send him to Siberia. What kind of preparations do you think Putin's made to prevent that?
There are very few people on Earth who spend more time thinking about their personal security than Vladimir Putin. This would be tough. And I know people right now might be thinking a palace coup. Wouldn't that be fantastic? That could possibly end this whole thing. But that, I think, is a distant possibility at best right now. There's simply not enough of the people around Putin who would have suffered pain, nor have the Russian people seen enough in terms of casualties to be willing to deal with the incredible force of the FSB, the Russian Internal Security Service. They're very good at repression, and they're also very good at keeping the big guy in charge. And for anybody around him, and it is true if you look at the academic literature, authoritarians usually do fall by people around them in their orbit, people that they have trusted. But if you come at the king, you best not miss. And if you come at Vladimir Putin, obviously your whole family's in jeopardy. So this is something I think we might see down the line, Jesse, but it'd be far too lucky for him to get pushed aside. Right?
So it'd be far too lucky for him to actually happen. But the glee. Like, I'm no fan of Vladimir Putin, right? I'm not a Russian apologist. I'm not somebody who, and we've talked about this on the show. If you've been watching or listening, you know I've already discussed that the only way to stop Vladimir Putin is with a bullet to the brain. but as if they watched this show, and I know they don't, or they listen to the show, you have Jesse Waters talking about it with his guests in a primetime segment. Now, this is the sick part. And now remember, look, for all Putin's faults, and he has many, he's a human being, and I would like to think we're better than this. But this gleeful ability to just turn off how you feel and go after somebody is truly sick. And they're okay with this. And it's just like, are you fucking kidding me? I have real problems with this segment. I have real issues that this is where they go and they're gleeful about it. Like, I don't want to see anybody die. Vladimir Putin needs to, like, be a real leader and not be this megalomaniac and like, do his job for his country. And not be some two-bit tin pot dictator. That's what I want. But if he's not, and this is an unfortunate end to the happenstance, maybe, just maybe, don't be giggly about it. Can we ask for that? Because you're taking away your, like, if nothing else, forget Putin for a minute. You're taking away your own humanity when you're giggling about the death of someone else. And this is Jesse Waters, again last night before the State of the Union, giggling about somebody else's death.
People can't leave the country, and there's chaos on the streets, and the oligarchs, you know, they can't rub two singles together. When does the security state in Russia make a move on Vlad?
You know, Buck's going to know a lot more about this than me, but I tell you, it's not hard to see that Putin's power comes from the power he continues to secure by those around him. The oligarchs aren't suppressed for information. They can spend as much time here as they do in Russia. Their wealth allows them to travel the world. They understand probably more clearly than most of us do who Putin is and the positive and negative effect he has on his country. That's kind of the irony in this, is that the people who are in vast numbers and don't have the resources and are downtrodden the most by a dictator like this have the least amount of information. But when we go after the oligarchs, that's when the tide may get to change. I guess my biggest problem is we can't look at this as a U.S. strategy, right? We can't say, well, he's not going to send nukes because before he does, they're going to kill him themselves. That's not a U.S. strategy. That's not how we defend ourselves. And the fact that we're having to have this conversation because it seems like there's not a lot of other plays among our government, that's what's concerning, and that's what bothers me. I mean, the fact that we're at primetime television and we're looking at, well, maybe they'll kill Putin themselves or get rid of him themselves as a strategy. Isn't that kind of the problem, Jesse? I mean, doesn't that kind of tell you where we are with it?
Yeah, I mean, until he goes after a NATO ally, you just got to let him sink in Ukraine and just wreck their banking system from abroad. That's the only play. So, Buck, you're going to see the president.
So that's the only play. Let me giggle about it. I'm not going to take this segment seriously. Let me just have a giggle fest about it. Is where Tucker Carlson is. Really? You're the number one rated television host in your slot. This is the number one rated television host for a prime time. Jesse Waters. Giggling like a schoolgirl at the fact that they get to talk about killing Putin. I mean, the guest talks him down off the ledge, off the killing Putin ledge. Like, this shouldn't be the discussion that we're having on your show. And it's sad that we're here. Did you hear the distress in the guest's voice? that they had to have this conversation in this way? Like that it was even a thing? The guest was clearly not thrilled about being brought on to talk about whether or not and how there are 50 million ways to kill Putin. And good on the guest for, like, I mean, and he's giggling like a fucking schoolgirl. We get to kill Putin. Now again, take Putin out of it. I am no Putin apologist. Putin should be tried for war crimes. But to go on national TV and giggle like a schoolgirl, and I'm showing my age by using that terminology. Don't cancel me. But to just think, this is something we could talk about. Giggle like a child is slightly better than giggle like a schoolgirl. It infuriates me. Like, we talked about it in passing on the Nosey Liberal a couple of days ago. And lo and behold, Jesse Waters has a full segment about it. It's like, they're a death cult. The Republican Party is a death cult. Conservatives are death cultists. And if you're okay with that sort of thing, go with them. More power to you. I'm not okay with that sort of thing. I'm not okay with a group of people that think it's giggle time when we're talking about killing somebody. Better get a food tester. He actually said that. Vladimir Putin better get a food tester. Again, the #1 rated show in primetime next to Tucker Carlson is that show. Giggling like a child over somebody's murder. And it's like, dude, grow the fuck up. Grow up. I never thought that Jesse Waters, of all people, would have a primetime show. Because I always thought he could not hold up the responsibility angle of it. This is my own personal critique of Jesse Waters. I've always thought that Jesse Waters was just a fancy suit. A good-looking fancy suit. And didn't have any there. And they've given him this platform on Fox News where he shows it that I was right. And yet he's the next generation of what we're going to be dealing with for years to come. He's only in his 40s. I think he's younger than me. I think I'm older than Jesse Waters. And remember, he was groomed by Bill O'Reilly. He used to host segments as a pseudo pundit on the Bill O'Reilly show. And the level of just pure stupidity gets to me. It's just awful what we're dealing with. It's just horrendous. And I'm so glad that I'm going to talk to Rick about this. I'm going to talk about this because I just got to ask him what he thinks of these right-wingers who get paid millions of dollars to go on and have these platforms. and giggle like a child. Giggle like a child about the deaths of somebody. I could only imagine what he does. My dog just entered the room. My cute little puppy just entered the room. She wants attention. I could only imagine what they think about us. Like, this is what they think. They think this way about people like Vladimir Putin, who could, at a touch of a button, poison. Jesse Waters would not be walking around if Vladimir Putin wanted. Do you know how easily Vladimir Putin, if he wanted, could get to Jesse Waters? See, this is what I do. I could talk about this because this is a morning show and we could get away with it and yada yada. But Vladimir Putin could just touch a button and Jesse Waters gone like that. The giggling child is gone in a heartbeat. But he goes on there on national TV on primetime and thinks it's this big joke to just giggle about the oh my God, just think of the chaos of what would happen if somebody murders Vladimir Putin. He doesn't think 2 steps ahead. Like, okay, great. Giggle time is over. Let's think about what would actually happen if somebody did kill Vladimir Putin. And what would happen to Russia and how people would behave. Let's take that to the next step. I mean, look at the chaos that you have right now in Lebanon because Muammar Gaddafi was murdered years ago. Muammar Gaddafi was this is a morning show. Muammar Gaddafi was strung up and basically, I don't know how to even describe what happened with Muammar Gaddafi. It was horrific. What his people did to Muammar Gaddafi. And Lebanon is still suffering right now because of his coup and murder and everything else. Do we want that for Russia? Again, you can't just say, oh, wouldn't it be nice if Putin was gone? Think of the word, like everybody said, well, Yeltsin isn't a leader. Let's get rid of Yeltsin, yada, yada, yada. And Yeltsin isn't good enough. We need a more powerful person. We need someone we can deal with, yada, yada, yada. That's what they all said. That's what they all said in the 90s. Now we have Putin. Now we have Putin. It boggles my mind that these people on the right, and I used to be one of them, you don't think steps ahead. Well, if this doesn't happen, or this doesn't happen, or this happens, what will be the end result of that? This is why the Chinese are beating us, by the way, because they think steps ahead while we're still in our little putt-putt. This is why Marjorie Taylor Greene is so mad at China, because they actually have a thought in between their skull. And Marjorie Taylor Greene does not. So this should be fun. I am waiting for when Rick arrives, and I've never had a guest before through the program that I'm using, and I'd never tested it. So I'm freaking out a little bit on how it's going to work. So there's that. So I'm keeping an eye on this before we get into anything. But we're going to talk with Rick Smith. We're going to talk about the State of the Union. We're going to play some Kim Reynolds, the defund the police. Maybe we'll play a little bit of Marjorie Taylor Greene for him, because I don't think he got to hear that. This morning, we're going to talk about this too. This morning, Nikki Haley said that Vladimir Putin was afraid of Donald Trump. I shit you not. It's on our YouTube channel. It's amazing. And we're going to talk about Pat Robertson coming out of retirement again, because I can't wait to get Rick Smith's vibe on that. Because again, these people never think of the consequences of their statement. They never say, well, this might happen, so let me wonder about how the ramifications of what will happen next. You know, they never wonder about that. They never have any deep thoughts about that. It's just pathetic. And this is how the right operates. This is how they and then you get and then it boggles my mind, because you have these good people on the right, like Bob Nang, who I don't agree with politically, but I've read his book, and Rick Smith has him on the air all the time, and they're not horrible people. You know, there are some good Republicans out there. They're just buried under the crap, unfortunately. My dog really wants attention. So there's that. So if I don't pet the dog gets angry. So I have to pet the dog while I do the show, which is really distracting. While I'm doing the show. But it's frustrating when you have someone like, back to this Jesse Waters thing. I'm going to stay on it before we get into the discussion with Rick Smith, because I want to talk to him about this and get his thoughts about this, because it's fun in games to giggle about it and like have your fun and have a one-off segment about killing Putin and what it would be like. But I wonder, are the ramifications of what he is saying ever brought to bear? Ever thought of? It really makes me wonder. And I'd like Rick's, because I think we're going to agree. I think me and Rick Smith are going to agree about how the right behaves. And being somebody who used to be on the right, I'm doing my penance with this show. But being somebody who used to be on the right, I feel that we should have these discussions, because it's a little bit more nuanced than just all right-wing folks are bad. Because even Mitt Romney has moments of dignity and clarity. Is he, for the most part, a horrible human being? Yes. But every once in a while, you have to say and I don't think it's fair to just say a clock is right twice a day. I don't think it's fair. I think that's being a little unfair to Republicans and conservatives to just say that. And again, I going back to the thing with Tucker Carlson, I agree with their stance about freedom and big tech. I don't think they should be taking away Russia Today or Sputnik or any of these things. But if big tech wants to do it, they have that right. And that's what you're dealing with. So I'm on both sides of that one. Big tech has the right to do that if they feel that they are not following the terms of service of their platform, and RT has the right to broadcast whatever crap they want and find the platform to do it. Just like OAN, just like any of the right wing, and there are plenty of right. If Fox News is too liberal for you, you can find on the dial somebody who is not going to be that way. So there's that. And I'm just waiting to see if we have our guests. Yeah. Just see. No. Yeah, first time doing this. I should have tested this, but we're going to have Rick Smith on any moment. And it's going to be live. And you could watch on the Facebook stream, the Twitter stream, any other way. And it's an easy way to do it. And you can listen on FYNation.com as well. So there's that. By the way, think about contributing to our Patreon at FY Nation. That's always helpful. We're trying to get to $400 a month. We need about $400 a month to be able to go and grow. But I'm just waiting on Rick. Going to check my email while we do this. And I don't want to miss him. But I've never seen it work before. So there's that. And I know he's getting ready to come on. So that much I do know. But yeah, love it. So that's where we're at. We are talking about consequences and freedom today and what that all entails. And we're going to talk about the State of the Union with Rick. We're going to talk about some other stuff. I think we'll have a good time. But consequences and freedom is what we're going to talk about with him coming up. And just double check my email here. The link. The room is okay, let me just send him the link invite. Glad I checked my email. Here, try this. Sorry. Okay, let's see. I knew something told me to check the link. There's always something on the FYNation.com. We can never just have something go smoothly here at FYNation.com. God forbid something goes smoothly on FYNation.com. So there's that. I resent him the link, and hopefully he got that and is added. Being your own producer is a pain in the ass when you got to do everything yourself, and maybe we'll talk about that a little bit because it's so difficult sometimes. Now I vaguely remember how to work this, and hopefully it will just have him pop on, and we'll check my email one more time, and resend link. Let's see. Sorry. Resend. Just in case. Let's see if he gets it, and we can get him on. And there's Rick. I see Rick. And let's add Rick to the stream. Let's try that again. Come on. Add to the. There we go, Rick. How are you?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm doing great. We were discussing, and maybe you could give me some insight on this. I'd like your opinion on this. We were discussing Jesse Waters. You know him from Fox News. He used to be Bill O'Reilly's
water boy.
Yeah, little. Yeah. And for those who don't, and he was on his show last night before the State of the Union, and they had this whole segment dedicated to killing Putin. And like, to me, I'm okay with the whole idea in the long run, but I'm like one of these people who has to like go into what are the ramifications of that if that happens. And I don't think his giggling child act thought of what happens next. And I'd like your thoughts on that with everything, because now they've gone from, you know, Putin's bitch to let's kill him.
You got to make that pivot, right? You got to make that pivot. G-rated show, R-rated. Where are we at in the ratings?
PG-13.
Okay, so I'll just say F Jesse Waters. Let's start with that. I don't know why anyone would pay any attention to that smarmy little prick, but I guess if we have to talk about Jesse Waters, fine. Yes, you're right. They are the wholly owned subsidiary of Vladimir Putin. At this moment, the pivot is happening because the world is paying attention to their being his little chew toy. This was predictable, extremely predictable in that, look, when you see the ship going down, the rats will scurry. And that's what this is. I mean, I was listening to right-wing blather on the radio for the last couple of days, and you're seeing that pivot because eventually we're not going to kill Vladimir Putin. That's not going to happen. We're not putting boots on the ground. We're not getting involved in that. But those rich people whose yachts are being repossessed and they're running to their yachts like, an episode of Repo Man, those folks not happy with being inconvenienced in the slightest. Now, they may have it in for him. And if you notice, if you saw that photo of Putin sitting at the big long table where he's like 40 feet away from everyone else, he knows it too. He knows he's not going to be walking near any windows because he could find his way out one of them. He knows he's not going to be near people because someone could put some airborne poison out there and we can be done with this megalomaniac. And look, the world would be better off without this a-hole. So did the blind squirrel find him out?
Here's the thing that I just disagree with you a little bit, Rick. I worry that, like, when Muammar Gaddafi was taken out, everybody was, oh my God, thank God he's gone, yada, yada, yada. And we were all happy about it for about 5 minutes. And then the Civil War happened. I kind of worry about, oh my God, a civil war with a country that has nuclear weapons like Russia, what that would entail. Because we really don't know who, let's face it, after Vladimir Putin, who is in charge of Russia? We don't know. And that scared the bejesus out of everybody.
So you're going with the devil we know?
Yes. And I'm not saying I want him in power by any means. I'm just saying we know, at least with Putin, we've had, up until now, a stable tyrant. We're going, if we drop kick him to the curb, we don't know what we're going to get, and we don't know how it's going to fall. It could pivot either way, and that's all I'm saying. It could be Boris Yeltsin, or it could be Adolf Hitler. And that's the only worry I have is the consequences.
First, we're not going to take Vlad out. That will be someone in his inner circle. That will be someone close to him. And for me, if I'm attempting to allay your fears, it's that I don't think the oligarchs in that country are going to want business disrupted. They're good American capitalists. They're good Wall Street acolytes. So the trains will run well enough to make them their profits. They'll make products enough. They don't want major disruption. This is bad for business. This is bad for their bottom line. They're not thrilled about the war. I'm sure if you remember, before he went in, he gathered them together and said, hey, he had to lay out the grand plan, which was, we're going to go in. It's going to be a weekend. It's going to be great. They're going to welcome us with open arms. We've heard this before. And, we're going to come back and there are going to be parades and kissing babies. And it's going to be great for business because we're going to get our pipelines. We're going to get the breadbasket of Europe back under our control. It's going to be fabulous. It didn't work out that way because the Ukrainian people are like, no, screw you.
Yeah.
We're not handing over anything.
No, you're absolutely right. And I just, I don't know, with everything going on, I thought, I agree with you. I listened to your show last night on FYNation.com, and you covered the State of the Union. And I don't know if you heard what they ended up yelling at the end of that. Somebody yelled 13.
And was Laura Boebert. And are you surprised it was that asshole? Are you surprised it was her?
No, I'm not. In fact, at some point they even were saying she yelled, "Build the wall." you know, because why the fuck not?
I mean, this is what happens when you put the lowest common denominator in Congress. When when one of the dumbest people in the country is now elected to an office to represent people, this is what you get. She has built herself up as some kind of a right-wing little star, and that's great. Good for her. She might get a Fox show. I'm hoping the good people of Colorado go, this is too much distraction. She's not doing anything other than getting attention for herself and making her star rise. And look, I had a friend last night go, this is time for the Democrats. They need to throw, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert out. I'm like, no, why would you want to do that? The dumbest thing Democrats did was throwing Marjorie Taylor Greene off the Education Committee. Because she was the albatross around Republicans' neck. If I'm on that Education Committee, I want her sitting next to me. So I can go, hey, we need more education for funding. Exhibit A. Look at this dumb bitch. I mean, come on.
No, you're right.
Out of her mouth. I mean, please.
And it's worse. We were talking about this earlier where, I do, and this from my tweets, I do a lot of Right Wing Watch stuff, and Right Wing Watch had Neil Kumar on, who is actually worse and more rabid dog than she is, and was talking trash about her. And I was like, she needs more of him because she is making me feel bad for her. And I call her a traitor regularly on the air, And Rick, it bothered. I have a tendency, I don't know if you know about me, but I used to be a Republican a very long time ago. When in my youth, I'm paying penance for it now. I used to be a Rush Limbaugh conservative Republican. Then I grew up. And I feel like I'm paying penance with FYI Nation for it.
And doing a great job, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Wasn't fishing, but I appreciate the catch. When it comes to conservatives and Republicans, what scares me, what we do on the left, is that we pigeonhole them as if they're all Marjorie Taylor Greenes. And they're not. Like I was saying earlier, and I'd like your take on this. I think there are some that are like Bob Ney, who you have on your show, who are regular people and just want to see America succeed and don't want their taxes too high and want the trains to run on time. And then there are the people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who still thinks Hunter Biden is smoking crack in his parents' bedroom, basement, So I think there are the extremists, and I think if we do them the ones we can work with, a disservice when we pigeonhole them into this whole Trumpanzee type of narrative.
And I will agree with you on this. And we've had many discussions, which is why we work closely with the Lincoln Project, who are a bunch of former Republicans who, before Trump came out and said, hey, this is horrible. I agree with you. There are some conservatives. Their numbers were dwindling for a long time. The problem with the current Republican Party is the people who are still pulling the lever for Republicans are okay with Marjorie Taylor Greene. They are okay with Lauren Boebert. They're okay with Gosar. And look, this election cycle is going to show where the heart of the GOP is. Are they the GQP, as everyone loves to tell me, or are they the grand old party, and are they going to come back to the same line? What I'm looking at in primaries and in elections across the country is the Republican candidates are getting crazier and crazier. They're all trying to be the next attention getter. They're all trying to be Boebert or Green because, hey, that's where the spotlight is. They get to go to little white supremacist meetings and give their spiels and be loved with open arms by the white supremacist groups.
Well, even to your point, Neil Kumar in his little rant about Marjorie Taylor Greene was like, AF PAC, America First PAC is trying to be the next CPAC. That's exactly to your point. They're trying to brand themselves and rebrand themselves for the low information voter in the Republican Party who might say, "Oh, this isn't so bad. Let me go there." I have a dear friend of mine who his marriage broke up because she went full QAnon. The wife went full QAnon.
Because it's the children. It's the children, Thomas.
Yeah.
And you throw that out there, and look, this is where the crazy people, they suck you in with all of this. They're fighting the good fight. They're the patriots. They're the God-loving Christians. And look, they've gone full off the rails, which is why I've been talking about how radical the right religious groups are for years. This is nothing new. Going back to the days of Falwell and his crazy groups, all the way up till the 19 and counting woman, the slip and slide woman, with a boatload of kids. All of this is part of that extreme religious ideology, which is about creating Christian warriors and getting to the end times. And wow, where was that moderating force in the GOP? Look, I love good, honest conservatives. You can have a debate with them, but ideologues and the true believer crowd, you can't talk to them.
They scare the shit out of me. I'm gonna be completely I had this conversation with my mom because I live at home after dealing with an illness. Thank you, Obamacare, by the way. I fell about 2 years ago and would not be here today if it wasn't for the expansion that the state of Connecticut did. So thank you, Jesus, for that BFD that Biden talks about.
Could have been better if it weren't for your Senator Trader Joe Lieberman.
And don't even get me started on him. My folks know him. But that being said, where was I going with this? Me and my mom had this talk about how we have these people that I can't even see myself as being. Like I used to have these, probably like I would with you, these great arguments about unions and everything else, and where maybe they went too far or did this, and these just different arguments about where power structures should be. With my godmother, who was a union liberal Chicago teacher of minorities, right? And I don't see that person anymore. Like, I don't feel like I would belong in the Republican Party, and I'd be saying, man, I'm an independent. If I was going to say anything, I would be too afraid to pull that R lever because somebody like Alex Jones was behind the curtain.
No, and that's the problem with the current party. And I've had these conversations with people. The sad reality is it's like the frog in the water. This has been 40 years in the making. You've had these elements of the Republican Party who have, they've moved the party in this direction, and now they've taken over. And then whenever extremism takes over, this is what you get. Now the question is, what happens? Do the Republicans figure out how to reclaim their soul, or does it have to collapse and something come out of it? I don't know, but it's not good for us as a country.
No, I agree with you, and it's upsetting because my grandparents were good Republicans, and I became a Republican mainly because of them. And you see the good Republicans, the Eisenhower Republicans, fading away. Like my father is English, and he's conservative, but he's not in the Thatcher wreck everything conservative. He's in the fund it but live in a government type of conservative. And I see even in England, I have a friend who is complaining about the healthcare and how it's not funded enough. And oh my God, Rick, I would love to have that argument with conservatives, like how much we should fund healthcare for everybody because we already have it. Yet here we have to argue about whether or not a state like Mississippi can get the Affordable Care Act expanded. And not being able to have a rational argument drives me nuts. And I guess my question to you is, are we going to be able to, should we focus more on trying to have that argument?
No.
Or winning? Which
gotta win.
Look,
at the end of the day, politics is about getting things done. And the only way you get things done, and Joe Biden is seeing this, is if we win. We gotta win elections. And look, today is the day after the Super Bowl for political organizations who have, for cause heads who have their one issue. My email box is full of groups saying, hey, we won, we got the president to mention this, or people who are angry, he didn't pay attention to us, we're taking our ball and going home. These are folks who their focus is very narrow. And my focus is I want to make people's lives better. How do we make all people's lives better? I don't want to tie us down by categorizing us and slicing and dicing us. Yeah, it was great. He said a lot of good things last night. But in an hour and 8 minutes, there's only so much you can get to. I thought his speech was fabulous. But you look at the divisions that came out of this. For me, you got to get stuff done. We need more We need a couple more senators.
Yes.
If we have a couple more senators and we're winning elections, we're moving an agenda. We're getting stuff done. We're making lives better. We're getting the work done. And I'll tell you, that's the thing I've really liked about Joe Biden the most. I was not a Biden fan from the start. He was my fourth choice. But he has been the steady, calming, silent, strong hand that we've needed in this moment. We don't need somebody slamming their fist on the table, some bombastic loudmouth. We need that steady hand that he has provided. And I thought his speech last night was fantastic. And look, with any Joe Biden speech, there are going to be tons of gaffes. There are going to be tons of misstatements.
Mm-hmm.
You expect that. But overall, I thought the speech was fantastic in that it was positive. It wasn't the kind of grievance speech that we're used to hearing from our politicians. And it spoke, I think, to our higher cause, which is why I think the polling is so good on it today. And I think it's going to help him. And I think it's going to help us move an agenda forward.
No, I agree with you. And I think the beauty about it is he ticked all the right boxes to get the point, the talking point so well for us that even Republicans on the Fox News this morning were saying he was saying Republican talking points. They were mad at that.
And it's like, don't you love how they pivot and then they own things?
Yes.
Kind of like where we started with Jesse Waters. Now Putin's a bad guy.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And for those just tuning in, I'm with Rick Smith, who is host of the Rick Smith Show, a great union supporter, all around great guy. And I've been you're my first interview with a non-friend that I've done since coming back to doing this again on a regular basis since my old show. And oh my God, thank you for making me feel so comfortable because my anxiety was through the roof.
Nothing to be actually, just a conversation.
You know, and well, that's what I love about your show and why I like having you on live, because that's what it is. It's not, and that's what we try to do here. We try to just have a conversation because I think we can do more with that. I think the possibilities are endless. If you're not talking down to people, if you're not pointing the finger at somebody and calling them a scumbag and everything else, and if you're willing to have an open dialogue, I think you can. And not for nothing, I think there's a little bit of time for the old Rush Limbaugh way of doing things too. But you got to you got to pepper it, like a fine meal. And I think that's what I loved going to the speech. That's what Biden did. He peppered the speech, and the best part of the meal was the line about defund the police. He took it back from the Republicans. He just said, no, we're funding the police. Now, I know that made a lot of progressives on my side really pissed off, but I'm sorry, the messaging was beating the shit out of us. And they were able to do that because it's not a soundbite of what progressives want to do with the police. And it's never going to be a soundbite, and it shouldn't have been a soundbite. And they picked the worst fucking soundbite you could pick.
Amen. Look, when they first came out with that, I'm going, no, not going there with you. Not going there with you. I support the police, and I'm very clear about this. And listen to me when I tell you this. I support the police when they're not wrong.
Yes.
How hard is that? When we have assholes who do illegal things, we hold them accountable.
Yes.
It's insane and rational. I'm all for funding social services. I'm all for investing in communities. All of the other messaging around the idiotic statement of defund the police, I am right there with you. Corey Bush and Rashid Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, I am right there with you. But that is the dumbest fucking statement I've ever heard. Because it does what exactly the right wants it to do. It scares the living shit out of white America.
Yes.
They like the police department. They know Joe the cop.
You're absolutely right. And we're supposed to when you have power, you're supposed to be making it harder for the right, in this case, to reobtain that power, not handing them a fucking golden goose like defund the police. Exactly. Why would you do that? I mean, just Jesus Christ. Eric Adams is having all this tough time with the subway system, and you get a nutball, and I've talked to him on the air before, Curtis Sliwa, a genuine fucking Donald Trump Jr., crazy bastard, and he gets a win? You're giving him a fucking handout? Are you kidding me? And the whole the fact that he took that back and just and changed it and said, yes, we're for fund. I want him to say it 10 more times. He didn't say fund the police enough, because if you have a fund, and you know this better than anybody, Rick, if you have funded unions, if you have funded government, if you have funded control of what you are trying to do to govern, it can be done properly. Yep. Yes, you might have waste, fraud, and abuse, but I'd rather have a little bit of waste, fraud, and abuse than nothing and people dying on the streets and some poor Asian woman getting clocked in the head because some guy who should have been on mental leave didn't get his pills that day.
No, what defund the police does is it shuts down the conversation of all the things that need to be done. Are there problems? Absolutely. I'll be the first to tell you. I talk about this on my show all the time. I'm a kid who grew up in a housing project. I was the minority in a minority community. So I saw how police interacted with poor people. Am I a fan of police? No, not necessarily. I've seen them do horrible things, and they should be held accountable. I now live in a neighborhood with doctors and lawyers because of my union. My kids don't see that. What they see is a policeman who hands out glow sticks on Halloween. They see the neighbor who's a state trooper. They have friends who are policemen. So they're part of the community. And this idea that, and I know what my Black Lives Matter friends are going to say, well, it's because you're white that you support the police. It's because you're white and you have privilege because you live in the neighborhood you do. And, police are used to keep black people down. Look, for me, it's all about green and poverty. Yes, poor people in this country are treated horribly by our criminal justice system, by our police departments, and black and brown people most certainly get treated horribly. But defunding the police and creating this massive division is not going to be helpful. What we need to be doing is getting people like me involved in these groups and getting us all talking about how do we fix the problems? How do we not have the police as the stop of mental health, of drug and alcohol abuse? How do we get out of that? And how do we use policy to do it? Look, policy got us in here. Policy can get us out, I believe.
Absolutely. And even as a conservative, I always argued for policy. And that's what changed me into being a Democratic supporter. And I don't say Democrat, by the way. Nicole Sandler of the Nicole Sandler Show educated me on that. As a fledgling Democrat, was if you go overboard with Democrat, you're insulting the Democratic Party, and it's the name of the party is the Democratic Party. And I think you can use Democrat in certain ways, but then at certain points it becomes offensive. And I believe that. I don't know if you
look. I think it's where you put the emphasis. Even you mentioned Bob a minute ago, and even today, Bob is still trained to put the emphasis on the rat. And Bob is an independent. They were trained Democrats. So you got to get the rat in there. So and look, it's childish, it's immature, but it is who they are. And I don't have a problem with. Show me who you are. I want to know who you are. So if this is what you're doing, I already know.
Yeah. No, and And I think people can learn and be educated by it. I don't think I'm not going to hold it against you if you say Democrat. It doesn't matter to me. It's like dealing with the LGBTQ. I'm pansexual and I'm non-binary, and when I see these hate bills that are coming out and everything else, the way Republicans, it hurts my heart to see Republicans just screw governing, right, Rick? They don't actually, they govern to attack somebody instead of govern to lift somebody up.
Yeah,
and
your central premise is faulty here.
Okay,
You think they want to govern. They want to destroy government. They don't want to make lives better. They want to make their lives better. This is about that division of hooray for me and screw everybody else. So it's about, rewarding our friends. It's about doing that, but it's not about good governance. It's not about good policy. These people tell us repeatedly, Thomas, they don't believe in government. Government can do nothing right. Government should do nothing. They keep telling us, and yet people still vote for these people and expect them to have an agenda. I mean, am I surprised that the Republicans have no agenda whatsoever? No. Rick Scott came out with his 11-point plan. Is there a policy in there? No. It's more of this grievance. It's more of this division. It's more of this hatred. It's more of the stuff that you're talking about. It's not actual policy. It's not actually going to make anyone's life better.
You're right, and I guess I'm biased because I used to be one that I'm on the defensive a little bit.
Get out of the era. Get out of the Reagan era. At least they had some ideas. Even Newt Gingrich, as much as I didn't like that smarmy little prick, even they had an agenda. It was a bad agenda. It did horrible things, but at least they had an idea.
Well, I called the contract. A contract with America was the contract on America. That was my old trough for it. But that being said, I can't thank you enough for doing this, Rick. I've been wanting to have you on the show another, and I'm glad we got a chance to finally do it because I know you're very busy, and I look up to you because you're such a champion of liberals and union causes, especially in the liberal makeup. Because I like I said, my godmother, who I used to argue with day and night about politics, was so strong in unions, and that gave me a lot of respect for unions, even though at the time I didn't agree with them. It helped me turn the corner a little easier when I did, and watching you put up the good fight, which is such a struggle when you're dealing with the likes of China and trade agreements and globalization and Walmart. You really keep on going with that, and I really can't thank you enough for that in your wheelhouse.
Appreciate it, Thomas. Thank you so much. Anytime.
No, and thank you for coming on, and I don't want to keep you too long because I know you're busy, but thank you again, and hope we can do this again because I had a great time.
Most certainly. Just let me know.
Okay,
Thank you,
awesome.
everybody.
Thanks for minute. That was the amazing, wonderful, great Rick Smith, and I am not nervous anymore. I was hella nervous doing the show, but he put me right at ease, just like he does when we talk on the air, and it's just, yes, we are live, James Jackson. We just talked with Rick Smith of the Rick Smith Show, and Tara Devlin from Tara Buster should be joining us soon. We're going to talk more about the State of the Union. She has different views. She's a little bit more progressive than Rick is on the left. But that's what I like to do here on this show, is I like to bring different views and see what we can do with them. And I thought that was a great interview. And you could always call in at Skype and FYI Nation and have a conversation with me if you so choose, or leave a message like James Jackson did on the live. So there's that. So thank you, Rick Smith, for that. No breaks today. We're just gonna fly through the program and see what we can do. I'm gonna check my messages and let's see. I'm just waiting on Tara. So we'll go from that. She's probably waiting for her. And here's the great and amazing Tara Devlin to join us now. Let me add her stream. Tara, how are you?
Hello. Hold on.
Works.
I hear something. I hear you. I need to lower some. I don't know. Fuck, I'm hearing like the show coming in twice.
Okay. It works. We had a great time. We had a great conversation with Rick Smith of the Great Rick Smith Show, and you were nice enough to come on. I know I might be doing your show later, and I'm thrilled you're with me. I want to talk. I want your take on. I thought Joe Biden did a hell of a job with all the needles he had to thread with the State of the Union last night.
Wait, hold on, Thomas. I'm sorry. Give me 1 sec.
Sure.
Because I'm getting the show echoing back and back and back, like times 1,000.
Let me see if I can. Okay.
Hold on.
Let me.
I don't know.
Let me see.
Maybe I have to shut this. Hold on. All right. But if I leave, I can't hear you.
That's weird. Are you still getting an echo?
I'm hearing the show going.
You're hearing the show?
Hold on a second. Let me make sure.
Technical difficulties.
I'm here. It's like coming back at me 10 seconds later.
Enabled accessibility.
Fuck. All right. Hello. Okay. Now.
Hello?
Nope.
No?
I don't know what the hell is going on.
Do you want me to put you back on and take you off and see if that works?
I guess.
All right. Let's try that again. Hold on 1 second.
Oh. Hold on. Maybe this is
okay.
It.
And I have Tara back. Let's see.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Okay. Do you hear me?
Yep. Beautifully.
It is a little. There's one echo now instead of 15.
Okay. Well, that's better. Well, I wanted the echo of the right wing you'll get in your ear.
Well, it's hard to talk when I hear.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
What?
No, we'll get it working and go from there. But what I was saying was Joe Biden's speech, Tara. I thought he did. I thought he really nailed it. Even Republicans are saying on Fox News this morning that he said Republican talking points. So at this point when they're saying that he took enough away from them, and even liberals are mad when everybody is a little bit upset. That there was a good job done,
right?
And I think we got a home run with this speech. Yeah. And Kim Reynolds, I don't think did a good job. I think she did horrible. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene did a horrible job.
Job. They were. It was an embarrassment. It was the disgrace. These people.
Horrible. And that's all they have to bring to the table. And like Rick Smith was saying, they have no policies, they have no plans, and they're not bringing anything to the table but hate and division. And I wanted to know your thoughts on the Biden State of the Union, the first one that we had, and the masks being off. That was nice to see everybody's faces again.
No, it was great. I enjoyed it. I thought he was great. As soon as he said Iraq instead of Ukraine, I was like, oh, they're gonna run with this, because he made that was the only thing I thought that he misspoke. Whatever, he knew what he was talking about. But the Republicans, of course, they make a big deal about it because they're 2-year-olds, and just the way they behave in the chamber, standing up and yelling at him while he's talking about his dead son. They have absolutely no class, and this is what they offer. And that it is gaslighting the way that they are trying to. Anytime they take victory, they take. It's very. I'm sorry, Thomas. It's just fucking hard to talk when I'm hearing myself coming back at me 5 seconds later. So I have to. I don't know. I don't know what to do. Can I call in because this isn't working for me?
We'll
Okay.
try. We'll
Yeah.
try and call into the station.
Yeah. It's not
Yeah, if
working.
I need you know. All right, no problem. All right, so let's see if we can get Tara back on the line and go from there and get this to work. Just bear with me, folks. Technical difficulties. When you produce everything live, StreamYard is supposed to be better, but it worked fine with Rick Smith, but not as well as it did with Tara Devlin. So let's try and call Tara and see if. Hey, Tara. Yes, I can hear you. Is that better for you? Yes. No, I understand. Let me get John and put you on air this way. Just bear with me. And that's what happens when we don't do a test, but that's my bad. Yeah, it worked very good. Yeah, let's see here. So yeah, no, we're with Tara, the great Tara Devlin, and she is with. Now we have the audio working. Hello, Tara. How are you?
Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, no, I'm like on my last nerve as it is, and I just couldn't talk with myself echoing back in my ear 2 seconds later. It was really hard to concentrate and talk.
No, and I want this to work for everybody so we can use it, and people can want to call in and be guests. So I don't know why you had
we'll have to figure it out. It's you know, if anybody who watches my show, we have technical problems. So it's really I'm not a technical. I mean, I am to a degree, but not when they're going right. I'm like, okay, this is good. But then if something goes off, I don't know what the hell the problem is because I just did what you said, called in on that link, and it's not whatever. Something is wrong. Anyway, whatever.
But the beauty of my technical issues now is I can actually, for the most part, fix them. Whereas before I was not able to with the equipment that I had, thanks to my mother basically donating me two new computers. And oh my God, Tara, it's such a difference.
That's great.
I can't tell you the difference, and I sing their praises every day. But you were talking about Joe Biden and the right wing crazy train.
Yeah.
Well, go for it.
Well, you were saying how they're now proclaiming that he's using Republican talking points. This is what they do, as you see with Ukraine. Now they're not all of them. But I think about because they see the way the wind is blowing. They stick their fingers in the air and they say, this isn't a good look, this Putin, suckling Putin. So we're going to somehow, I guess, now pretend that they were always the champions of Ukraine, no matter the reality. And the thing that annoys me is that they never pay a price for this.
Yeah.
They rewrite history constantly. And they never pay a price because they own half the media. Now, and I don't mean half in a way. They really do own the whole thing because the media is corporate. It is owned by billionaires who pay millionaires to tell the middle class to reject any attempt to promote the general welfare as some kind of assault on their freedom.
Yes.
It's so goddamn tedious, ridiculous. It's tedious because I'm sick of them falling for it constantly. And then, of course, tickling the racist funny bones. And now, of course, attacking, as they always do, attacking the LGBTQ community.
Yep.
It's abhorrent. These people are fascists. Just look at Texas, what they're doing there.
Yep.
Investigating parents who are making the best decisions for their effing families, but they stick their filthy fascist Republican noses in these people's private business as they're trying to save their child's life.
Yeah,
it's disgusting. And I see on Twitter all of these right wingers doing what you're saying, rewriting history. One person was like, oh, the freedom of Ukrainian freedom fighters. They're not worried about pronouns, what pronoun to call people. They aren't calling each other racists. So in their minds, they're some kind of patriot because these people are fighting for the freedom to call themselves whatever effing pronoun they want. Yep. Not like Putin. These are the same traitors who, or just the other day, Steve Bannon was talking about, Putin ain't woke. Putin knows what bathroom to go to. I mean, this is who they are.
No, absolutely.
They're divisive. And
Tucker Carlson, you're absolutely right. Tucker Carlson last night, I put it on our YouTube channel on FY Nation. I'm not going to torture you with it. But Tucker Carlson had this Putin apologist on, Doug Kellogg is his name. And he's a former colonel. And he was basically saying that Putin was giving the Ukrainians a chance to lay down their arms and not hitting any civilian targets. Now, the mainstream media, which we're not exactly fans of, reported that the Holocaust Museum was targeted by Vladimir Putin's Russian forces. How does that not work for me? But Tucker is willing to have this douchebag on because he wants to still, for whatever fucking reason, defend Vladimir Putin. I wonder where his money is tied up in to be able to do this, because it makes me sick. And I'm no fan of Vladimir Putin, but I'm not going to be like Jesse Waters giggling about his murder either if somebody takes him out. You get both sides of the coin on Fox
childish
now.
Anyway, but I heard you talking about that. I didn't see that clip, but he was giggling about whatever. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily agree with you. Like Russia's going to collapse. It's already collapsed under his weight, and it would be the best thing for his own generals to take him out, or whatever they say. Or this is probably the opportunity for pro-democracy forces to make a move. But I'm not saying, I don't know if these generals would be pro-democracy or not. So that's another story.
And therein lies my point, is I get worried when we talk about this, because at least, Tara, you're willing to say, I don't know what the facts are with the people on the ground, so maybe let's not do this. Jesse Waters, on the other hand, a primetime host with millions of people watching, is there giggling like a child. And
that's who they are. They're immature. They lack the fundamental basic maturity to function in a democracy. This is the way they are. They never mature past some stage in toddlerhood where you realize you're not the center of the universe. That never happens to them. So that's why they're very confused by democracy, and they can only transform it into this pantomime of wearing shirts with stars and eagles on it and waving giant flags like a filthy fascist. And they're trying to turn their dummy. Well, it's not even turning them, but their dummies are so susceptible to the misinformation that to say that they're not free if government in any way, shape, or form asks anything of them. If they are asked to do anything for the country and the community, they're not free. And you see the Ukrainian people, it really is, as I'm watching it, it's of course inspiring, but it reminds me of really the spirit of 1776 in that way, because the United States birthed in the liberal age of enlightenment from the thinkings of the philosophers, John Locke, Rousseau, Voltaire, who said that we don't need kings, we don't need this intergenerational aristocracy bullshit anymore. And that went on for hundreds of years. These were radical thoughts. The United States wouldn't even have come to fruition if not for these, the radical thinking and the change in mind. So the United States, overthrew their intergenerational aristocracy, and it inspired a bunch of dominoes to fall. The French Revolution and other, took suit. And now we are 200 and less than 250 years later. And, we're teetering on the brink of fascism. But the thing is, we have forgotten what it is. What is the spirit of 1776? Now, I understand that the conservatives and the founders, let's say, themselves were hypocrites and blah, blah, blah. Putting all that aside for a second, but the spirit of 1776, we've forgotten what that is.
Yeah.
The Ukrainian people are showing that it's democracy. To be free means to pick your own government, not have some fucking autocrat come in and tell you, what that you're not free, basically, that you can't call yourself whatever pronoun you want to call yourself. Everything that the Republicans are talking about and that they're promoting as freedom is oppression. And it's opposite day. Every day is opposite day in their world, as if now they're proclaiming themselves to be on par with the Ukrainian freedom fighters because they want to ensure that the people who go into the bathroom have the appropriate quote unquote peepees. You know what I mean?
I'll go you one further, Tara. I'm speaking for those who are just joining with us. I'm speaking with the great Tara Devlin just after Rick Smith, and we're talking about the fact that Republicans and conservatives just can't lead. And the truckers, I did this story. I don't know if you listened earlier in the first hour, but the truckers are mad that their coverage of the People's Convoy has been overtaken by Ukraine.
Right.
And enough people aren't showing up. So they're all mad because they're like, and this goes to your point, they're fighting for Americans' freedom and they're mad that they're not getting covered. Now,
okay, sorry.
And I just saw, and Tara, I just saw the other day, one of my journalists that I follow for show clips here on the show did a clip of one of the People's Convoy people being interviewed while he was driving. And I'm not sure if this is breaking a law or not, but he's driving hands-free, being interviewed by Newsmax on video.
Driving hands-free?
Yes.
They have, he's an automatic whatever car, I guess.
Yeah, he was driving it. Yeah, he was driving it. But
right.
I mean, how unsafe is that? Like, you're so desperate to be on TV that you can't fucking pull over for 5 minutes. It's like, come the fuck on.
God, they're just tedious and it's childish. It's embarrassing, frankly. Yes. While these assholes can't even put on a mask to save their fellow Americans. This is what it pisses me off beyond reason now, because we all remember in the beginning of the pandemic, they were going out there saying Granny should take one for the team and just die for the economy.
Yep.
And she'd be happy to and proudly die to do her patriotic duty and die. These assholes cannot even put on a mask for their fellow Americans. And they watch and they think, as they're watching the Ukrainians fight this autocrat that they enabled and their goddamn dumb Führer here praises and loves and did whatever he could in the time that he was squatting in the White House, despite receiving fewer votes. And it's outrageous how they think that we can forget about this.
I think one of your posts on your Tara Buster page that I saw the other day called him Reek. And I love that from the Game of Thrones reference.
That's it, yeah. When they came out of that meeting. Well, that's the other thing. Imagine if any Democratic president, Barack Obama, or let's say Hillary Clinton, if she assumed the office that she was elected to, if they had a secret meeting with someone and then confiscated the transcripts and no one knows what they talked about.
I can hear the lock her up chants right now. I could hear them chanting at CPAC to lock her up.
No problem. And I'm sure you saw the clip of John Bolton on Newsmax.
In fact, I have it. Let me play it for you because this is beautiful. You'll be able to hear it through the Skype. But let me play this clip. I won't play the entirety,
There's something
but
to be said, though, about the simple fact that there was not aggression during the 4 years. I mean, you were part of that administration as well, and there was not aggression from Russia, and they waited him out, it seems, and made a move. I mean, we have a list of things that the Brookings Institution says the Trump administration implemented 52 policy actions against Russia, was pretty tough on Russia in a lot of ways,
and it's
forcing
Rob
NATO
Schmidt
members to
who's
pay up,
talking,
as we
by the
know,
way.
sanctioning
John
Nord Stream 2.
Okay. I know what it is.
Oligarchs close to Putin were sanctioned, selling anti-tank weapons to Ukraine, so arming Ukraine, withdrawing from the INF Treaty and expelling Russian officers from this country as well. He looked in 2018. He looked NATO members in the eye and talked about the reliance on by Europe and how horrible that was. I mean, he took a very tough stance against Russia. I'm surprised you don't think that he would have handled this better than Joe Biden.
No, he did not. He did not.
How did
we
he
didn't
not?
sanction Nord Stream 2. We didn't sanction Nord Stream 2. We should have. We should have brought the project to an end. We did impose sanctions on Russian oligarchs and several others because of their sales of S-400 anti-aircraft systems to other countries. But in almost every case, the sanctions were imposed with Trump complaining about it and saying we were being too hard. The fact is that he barely knew where Ukraine was. He once asked John Kelly, his second chief of staff, if Finland were a part of Russia. It's just not accurate to say that Trump's behavior somehow deterred the Russians. I think the...
So that's enough of that. But that's beautiful. Like Bolton,
It's incredible.
I'm no fan of John Bolton, but he just like,
Right.
he's like, I'm not going to let you do this. On the guest show.
Great.
It was beautiful.
That and they had their list of lies,
Yeah.
their bullet pointed lies.
Yep.
And he's like, no, that didn't happen. In fact, he didn't even know. He had to ask if Finland was part of Russia. What a moron. What a moron. And that is the standard bearer of the Republican Party. And they want to make him president again and or Speaker of the House to own the libs. To own the libs, these effing traitors. That's all they have, and which is another example of how much they're traitors, frankly, because if your behavior is because you want to trigger, you want to upset and annoy your fellow Americans, that's what motivates you. You're not a patriot. You're a traitor and a toddler to boot, a toddler traitor. And that's all they are. Just a bunch of effing toddlers who can't do their part to help their country and community in a time of crisis or any other crisis. And they cause the crisis half the time and they make it worse. They never, ever make it better. Any of these Republicans.
And you know, the Rob Schmidt booker for that show did not read Bolton's book, because had he actually or she actually read Bolton's book, Bolton goes after Trump. He eviscerates them. He wouldn't have booked John. Like, it's like they pick these people out of a hat. And you supported Trump. Let me put you on. And it's not even the case.
Right. Well,
you know,
I mean, it's every now and then you see the truth slip out in these cesspools, and that's why everybody ends up posting these clips, because it's such a surprise.
Yeah.
But you have to see that we're living in two different realities, and that is fascism right there. That's how fascism takes root, through the misinformation, through the fascist propaganda outlets. This is why, I mean, one of Joseph Goebbels' big ideas was to make radios super cheap, and then they gave them out on Hitler's birthday so everybody could hear the message, you know? And it's because human beings are susceptible to this kind of shit. We are storytellers, and these assholes, these fascist bastards, are telling nefarious stories. They never ask their victims to evolve or be better people or, you know, do their part. You know, we're not asking them. We never ask these scums to storm the beaches of Normandy, but yet they can't even wear a mask. And now they're having a tantrum. Everything is a tantrum. I'm so sick of them. I just really can't.
Well, and not only, Tara, you're right, and not only is everything a tantrum. If it's not a tantrum, they're they're victims. Like they're constantly. That's the other pendulum that swings. They're constantly a victim of typically a circumstance in their own making, like this truckers convoy that nobody's showing up to. They made this thing up. Nobody else really gave a damn, and now they're all mad because people aren't showing up. Well, what the fuck did they think was going to happen?
Well, people aren't showing up because they're being picked on. Thomas.
Yeah.
No one is paying attention to the tantrum.
Yeah.
It's like when you go to a store and then you see a baby or a toddler having a tantrum. Everybody has to look, and half of the people ignore it. I was like, let mommy handle it. Let mommy change the diapers. But that's how you have to handle these toddlers. They're not capable. They have no respect either. They hate this country. Let's not be fooled. That's the thing that annoys me about the Democrats, on top of a lot of other things, is that they coddle these effing toddlers. They as if just modeling good behavior is going to make them, I don't know, all of a sudden want to be playing the reindeer games of democracy. It hasn't worked. It will never work. You cannot unify around these people. You have to unify around democracy. And it bothers me because you hear the corporate media. Just yesterday I heard the corporates. They were talking to the DNC chair, somebody, I can't remember who it was, someone on MSNBC, and she was saying, Joe Biden said he was gonna unify everybody. That same old canard, right?
Yep.
And how the people are tired of us against them. Well, you know what? What does that mean? So us against them, you're talking about people who stormed the Capitol, people who shoved Amy Coney bitch Barrett, handmaid tail Barrett, onto the Supreme Court before Ruth Bader Ginsburg's body was even cold, who shoved that sexual predator on the Supreme Court.
Now watch out, Tara. Tara, watch out. Kyle Rittenhouse might sue you.
Good.
Be careful what you
Good.
say.
They lionize that little murderer, and we're gonna unify around that. They're all over the country now, undoing voting rights, trying to make it harder for people to vote, and succeeding. We thought we fought these battles 50 years ago. The Civil Rights Act, they're going after every section that has teeth. They're trying to install themselves in power illegitimately, like their hero Putin and Orban and all of these autocrats that they fly around and love. I mean, so they're effing traitors, and I'm sick of it. The Democrats need to just say, I wish they would, maybe not say it with as much emphasis as I do, but just stop with this bipartisan. It's not about being bipartisan with people who hate democracy. Unify around democracy, fine. If you want to unify the country, we unify around the general welfare, democratic values, not people who enable a traitor who doesn't even know where goddamn Russia is on a map, for God's sake, not much less Ukraine or Finland. I mean, these people are ignorant. They're willfully ignorant.
Well, here's the thing, Tara. Even Rick Smith, who I'm not sure you would totally agree. I don't know how much you heard the entire interview, but where he said that we can't, they're not going to govern the Republicans. You can't have that talk with them. So what you have to do is the Democratic Party is actually win elections. Yes. And that's the only way you're going to govern. And that we have to take that mantra of like what you say, together we win, and really defeat these fascists.
Yes.
And these good stepping bastards to be able to go, because they won't have, like I was talking about freedom and how I believe I'm a freedom extremist. I believe you can say whatever you want, but there are going to be consequences to how you're going to say it. You might get shut off by a corporate media outlet, or you might get taken down by Spotify, or you might get banned on Twitter because of whatever you typed that didn't violate the terms of service. But I'm not going to say you don't have the right to say it. I'm just going to say there are consequences to what you say.
Right.
You know what I
right.
mean?
I agree. Yeah.
And these right wingers, on the other hand, these victims are out there saying, well, I should be able to say and not be suspended for hate speech, that women are only women and men are pretending to be women who are transgender. And I'm sorry, you're violating Twitter's terms of service. They have every right to fucking suspend you, and I support Twitter's suspension of this particular woman who's running for Roy Moore's old seat. And they're playing victims because that's what they pivot to.
That's all they do. That is part of the fascist psychology.
Yeah.
They never could position themselves as victim. I mean, it really is part of the autocratic personality, as you know, throughout history. If the autocrats are always somehow, it's like what happens with the Christians, like these evangelical Christians. They're 80% of the population, not the evangelicals, but you know what I mean. And but they're always under attack. Right?
Yes.
Everybody's attacking them. They are it's because they grab the mantle of the underdog while being the oppressor.
Yep.
So it's a game that they play. It's a part of their psychology to say, I'm not the fascist, you're the fascist.
And then to add insult to injury, to go on the same road you're going, if like I have this story about this African American woman who was denied a seat. If something like that happens, well, you should just brush it off. You shouldn't. Why are you even complaining? You have rights. You could go do this. We're going to have a black Supreme Court justice. Like all this, the hubbub about Joe Biden picking an African American woman and saying, I think this was true leadership. He said, I am going to pick an African American woman to be on the Supreme Court. Mic drop. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Eat it. Now all these pseudo intellectuals are saying, well, you're diminishing her because you don't put her up against all the other people. And I'm sorry, she's always been up against all the other people, and she's excelled. And now, oh my God, the president has decided, I'm going to really not have her as a victim anymore and rise her up because she has the qualifications to be the next
she's more
Supreme Court
qualified
justice
than any of the assholes on, and she's more qualified than Amy Handmaid Barrett. She's more qualified than that Beer Bong Brett. That's for sure. These people never even tried a case that they I know about I'm not sure about Amy Coney Barrett, but I do know that that's the case with Brett Kavanaugh. He's just he's just a Republican operative who hates democracy and has been working for the fascist interests his entire useless life. And they rewarded him with this lifetime position that he cried and pounded the table and screamed, I like beer and Revenge of the Clintons for.
Yeah.
Now, you know that when Judge Jackson is in front of the the committee and she's being questioned, I wonder if she pounds the table and screams, I like beer and Revenge of the Clintons, if the fascists will vote for her then. But I doubt it, because it's not about democracy. You see what they've done. This is what fascists do when they take over a country. They warp the pillars of democracy. They don't have any respect for the Constitution or the equal branches of government. Look, just the fact that Mitch McConnell blocked Obama, a person twice elected to the presidency with the most votes in 2 landslide elections, and he wasn't blocking Obama, he was blocking the American people. So it's not about Obama. It's about him wiping his ass with democracy. And this is what they do. And the Democrats piss me off because they just go, okay, well, they got that one. I don't even know why they don't constantly remind the American people that this is an illegitimate Supreme Court.
Yes.
But they don't do it because they, I think, want to give the American people some illusion that it's normal. They don't want. I mean, it's so ridiculous to me.
Well, I'll tell you. I think I think the Democratic Party Tara, and I'm speaking with Tara Devlin for those who are just joining with us with the Tara Buster, who can be heard at 6 p.m. on Sundays. We just had Rick Smith, and we're talking about the State of the Union and other things, and the Supreme Court justice picked Judge Jackson, hopefully soon to be Justice Jackson, and frankly, how great the pick was, and how wonderful Biden did to really step for. And this is what we're talking about, that most of the time the Democratic Party doesn't do, right? They don't just come out and say, this is what I'm going to do, this is what we're going to do, eat me. Like that barely ever happens. And Joe Biden had some testicular fortitude to just say, this is the pick I'm going to make. It's going to be an African-American woman, and I don't care what you have to say about it. Eat me. Yeah. And to me, that's real leadership, and what we need to. You can disagree with Joe Biden on a lot of things all day long, but that to me is real leadership that is lacking in the Democratic Party, and exactly what you're talking about.
Right. Well, let's not forget, Trump actually, when because he, despite receiving fewer votes, installed 3 illegitimate Supreme Court justices, as you know, and they had put her forward instead of beer bong Brett. And Trump's words were, "I'm saving her for Ginsburg." Okay, because they wanted to. This is who the hypocrisy is astonishing and beyond belief. So if they're saying that, oh, it's such a travesty against everyone, Joe Biden is racist for saying that he's going to have nominate a person with darker pigment. That's what they're all whining about. Oh, it's so racist. Fucking losers. I hate them. Oh my God. But they're the ones. They play this game. She fit the suit. They're saving her for Ginsburg, when Ginsburg, it's the same thing like with Sarah Palin. She ticked all their boxes. They needed a woman. They needed somebody who was so-called, who's pro-birth. They needed someone, who was like a misogynist female who likes to shoot animals from helicopters, because that's really fun and bloodlusty. That's what they needed.
Well,
regardless of whether she was fit or not, and they knew she was unfit.
Basically, what John McCain, and this is why I abhor people who praise John McCain.
I know,
and talk about his great leadership skills. I think that's bullshit. John McCain literally went and found out the least qualified person for the job because she ticked all the boxes that he couldn't tick for the Republican Party to get the Republican vote. That's what he did.
Right. Yeah, that's it. Because that's all it's about. It doesn't matter who's in office. That's why it doesn't matter to them if Trump knows where Finland is. They want somebody who will destroy democracy. Who, as they have even admitted, that they just need somebody who can sign their fascist bills.
Yep.
I can't remember who said that. It was somebody. I think it was Karl Rove. Well, we just need somebody with a pulse and an arm to sign our scumbag bills. So that's all they need. They know they don't have any respect for the sacrifice of everyone who ever died for democracy. They don't have respect for the people of Ukraine. You see what's happening, how they're putting their lives, fortunes, and sacred honor on the line. I love these effing assholes. In fact, I just reminded myself of one of these fascists on Twitter tweeting something we hold these truths about the trucker convoy, right? About the toddler tantrum, that we hold these truths to be like something from the Declaration of Independence. And I tweeted back, pledge our lives, fortunes, and sacred honor to each other. That means that, what does that mean? That sounds a lot like socialism to me. It sounds a lot like, giving a crap about your fellow Americans and wearing a mask if you need to.
it's actually governing, which goes back to your point originally, Tara, that the Republicans don't want to do that because they don't know how, and that's not in their playbook. It's their playbook is authoritarian. Their playbook is authoritarianism. It's leading from the polls, and not for nothing. Joe Biden for this pick for Judge Jackson went through qualified candidates and found the best 3 Black women that he could, and went through their credentials and met with them and did due diligence as you would expect. Donald Trump, let's not forget, Donald Trump got a list, what was it, from the Heritage Foundation or the Federalist Society or one of those, and he just checked a box. He didn't do any due diligence of looking into the profiles of these people.
Oh my God. He probably looked at their Fox News clips. That's
it.
If they were ever on a media appearance. That's all that matters.
Yeah, exactly. And there were and they talk about diminishing a person. I would think that all these people that Trump nominated were diminished because there's no there for them. You know?
Exactly. They're just, it's a pantomime. They're playing the game of democracy until they just have to lift the mask, and it's halfway off, more than half, really. They don't like, I've said this for my entire life. As soon as I became politically aware, Republicans in every Republican chest beats the heart of fascism. Give them a chance and they'll destroy this country from within. That's what they're doing. Every time that they refuse to, look at themselves, not be racist. First of all, anyone who comes down an escalator saying, on his first day, announcing his campaign, saying that Mexicans are rapists, that should have been it for him. But they made him their standard bearer because they're fascists. That's what fascists do. There's always another. There's always some outside, that's the threat from the outside. That's what it is. It's there. It doesn't matter how much power they actually have. The underdog are they're the ones attacking. It's like in Nazi Germany. The Nazis actually charged the Jews for cleaning up Kristallnacht. They build them for cleaning up, the destruction that the Nazis caused because it was self-defense. That's what they said. So it doesn't change. That's why everything there. That's why it's so annoying, because they fall for it every time. But it's because they're racist, and they get into their sick souls through that racist pit that they have, and it's exploited and that's what, it's just so annoying. And they're always like, as I said earlier, there was a tweet, somebody saying, there's the Ukrainian, fighting for democracy. Like they give a shit. And they're not worried about people's pronouns. They're not calling people racists, as if we're just calling them racist because we don't have any other terms for them. You know what I mean? If the other thing, calling you a racist, if everyone's calling you a racist, look at yourself.
Yeah. Why? And that's the thing. It's like AOC pointed out that Kevin McCarthy, the stupidest man in America, is not doing anything to go after Paul Gosar or for Marjorie Taylor Greene for going to the AF-PAC thing in Florida. Of course he's not going to do that. He's not a real leader. He's a putz. There's no leadership skills. There's no want to do better. There's no. This goes back to what Rick Smith said, Tara. The Democratic Party has to win. We have to control all of the government, and that's the only way we're going to govern. And it has to be stated, in fact, by every Democrat. And we got to get the people like Joe Manchin out of the fucking way. And because there's another one, I'm sorry, can't fucking lead and is leading from behind. I'd rather have a Republican there if we're going to have Joe Manchin, because what good is being in power and having the power to do anything if you're not going to back your party? Explain that to me, because I sure as fuck can't.
Right. But the only thing Manchin is doing is keeping the Democratic majority.
Yeah,
That's what he's
exactly.
doing at this point. So, yeah. Well, he needs to go. We need to get more Democrats, but this is where we're in a very dangerous place, because you know what they've done to voting all over the country, and thanks to Sinema and Manchin, we can't do anything about it. So we're just going to fall to autocracy because of Sinema and Manchin. These two friggin' bribe pits. That's what they are. They're just
they're thugs in the Democratic Party.
Well, I saw Elizabeth Warren this morning on Morning Joe, and they were talking about what we've said for years. It's so ridiculous that Medicaid, that drug companies can just dictate the prices to Medicaid. Medicaid can't negotiate drug prices. That's so, as a free market capitalist, doesn't that sound a little bit ridiculous? Of course not. I mean, for them, they feel, they rigged the game. That's how it is. That's the only purpose of government, is to make the rich richer. And Elizabeth Warren said, they asked, how many votes do you have? We have 49 Democrats out of 50. Who's the 49th? That's Sinema. Yeah. Who's that one holdout? Sinema doesn't want to negotiate. Because that basic bitch with the stupid hair who wants attention and everything about her I can't stand. She's the one standing in the way of the American people having lower drug prices. It's outrageous. And this is why, because we have this fascist corporatist media that pumps, you have half of these idiots getting lies pumped into their heads. The other half are getting corporatists, distractions and distortions pumped into their heads, saying, I hate socialism. I played on my show, and I'm going to keep it. I'll keep playing it. There's a clip of Joe Scarborough saying, asking a Democrat, the Democrats say socialism is when blah, blah, blah. Government has the means of production, blah, blah, blah. Like he's mocking it. That's the actual definition. But people think that socialism is government interfering in their lives. What do you do? It's so why do they think that, Joe? Why do they think that socialism is government interfering in their lives? Yet they love social security. They love socialist Medicare, and there's socialist pre-existing conditions protections now. All of that. They love the socialist roads and the library and blah, 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 and fire department, police, right? It's because of you. It's so, to me, it was so outrageous that he could mock the actual definition of something while saying, people, you say that the sun is, 93 million miles from Earth, a big fusion reactor in the sky, but people think it's a giant dragon coming to swallow their balls. What do you do?
Yeah.
It's like,
that's why it goes to
stupid. Are we? Okay.
That's why it goes to, like, you and I kind of have this ongoing thing where I can sit and watch Fox and Friends, where you'll watch Morning Joe, and the reason I'll watch Fox and Friends before I'll go to Morning Joe is because I know that Fox and Friends is gonna feed me fascist bullshit. What pisses me off about Morning Joe is, and Joe Scarborough and Mika, is there's legitimate brain cells there, right? There's legitimate thinking people there, but yet they're willing to champion the causes of the corporate machine. And I just can't, like, I can't. I've tried, and even when they have somebody on who I like you said, Elizabeth Warren, it's like they short shrift her and they don't give her, they diminish her position, and I can't handle that, because it makes me, it actually infuriates me more than some putts on the right, because I know they know better. You know what I mean?
I don't know if they know better, or they don't. How would they know better? They're in the ivory tower.
Even Mika had this turn of when where were you saying she was in?
She
Poland?
was in Poland, yeah.
Where she was like reading, being right off the news, and
Yeah.
the folks on the other side were all kind of laughing, and she was snickering.
Well, she looked at them. She must have caught their eye.
Yeah.
Of the people behind the scenes were probably making, rolling their eyes, because
Yeah.
the stories were monkeys escaped, and then there was another one, Adele crying, and then there was Broadway reopens,
Yep.
and then they did a big thing about Adele crying, and Mika looked off screen, and I guess she saw the people behind the scenes going like, what the fuck? And
Yep.
she's like, guys, this is news. Like, she obviously got a little embarrassed about it.
Yeah.
It seemed to me.
And to me that shows that there's some brain cells active there, and that's why I just, it unnerves me so much, because it's like,
she just reads what they write for her. That's all, and it's, that's the way it is. This is corporate media. It's not real journalism. Sure, they send, it's the thing to me, it's like they send people to these places to get like a man on the street interview, and then they'll report polls. That's all they do, is report polls, because they commission these polls as if it's fucking news. Like they'll have a poll about socialism, and it drives me crazy, because they're like, whatever it is, 75% say they hate socialism, 35% say they don't know, whatever.
Well, here's one for you that I was going to do, Tara. Here's one,
These
just to interrupt you. 61% say the country is on the wrong track. What the fuck does that even mean?
Right, exactly. It's like, why don't you educate people?
Yeah.
Do you think that 60 or whatever it might be % of the American people will say they hate socialism? If you ask them, you hate socialist security? Do you think it'll be the American people hate socialist security? No, because they're not explaining it. And then you have Joe Scarborough saying, well, when Democrats say, this is because the thing was, he was making a point, or trying to, that Democrats are losing the messaging game, as always, and then giving the actual definition of something in a mocking tone, while saying, well, what are you going to do? You're losing the messaging game because people think it's this. Well, why do they think it's that? Because you're not doing your job. You're not going to the happiest places on earth and doing like what Michael Moore did, and doing a comparison. What's more effective? What's more cost effective? What kind of a country do you want? But it's not even about handouts or whatever. This is how they always twist it. It's about having a democracy. That's why I say to Democrats, I wish they would listen to this show and my show, because it's like, we're building, how you have to sell the Build Back Better? You sell it as building the infrastructure of democracy. That's it. We're building the infrastructure of democracy. We're building infrastructure, bridges and roads. That's your practical infrastructure. We need the infrastructure of democracy. And you cannot have a democracy and a concentrated wealth class like we have. That's, somehow we lost that way.
And the guy who took it away, the infrastructure of democracy, was Bill Clinton with the Communications Act. And it was a damn Democratic president.
Yeah, of course. The media, the communication, the Telecommunications Act of '96, which gave us Fox News, gave us Rush Limbaugh, and these silos of information, where some effing autocrat could come in and exploit now the widest income gap. How do we go from the most to the least upwardly mobile in 40 effing years? That's a disgrace. That should be on every ticker tape, on every crawl, on every corporate media channel, but it's not, because the American people are like, I think that government is encroaching on my lives. That's what socialism is. When it's not encroaching on your lives, it's building the infrastructure of democracy. Get a clue.
No, we only have about a minute left, but are you planning on a show tonight for Tara Buster Weekday, or?
Yes.
So okay, if you need me, you know how to holler at me.
show later.
I want to thank you for coming on. I want to thank Rick Smith for coming on. I tell you, Tara, I was so nervous about doing the interview.
Right.
My anxiety was just like going through it. I even shaved my sideburns. That's how nervous I was. I was like, I gotta shave for this man.
That's funny. Dressing up.
Yeah, dressing up. But on that note, we're going to head out of here. The audio and visual will be up in a little while. Thank you guys for listening, tuning in. Tara, thank you so much for joining me. And donate to Tara Buster Patreon page or what?
Patreon.com/Tara Devlin. If you can keep the liberal media going and growing. If you can.
Yes. On that note, Tom Hartman is coming up next. We'll be live. Thanks so much for your time. Have a great day.